Welcome if this is your first time, or welcome back. My name is Yu Wing. You can call me Yu Win or Win, and I'm really happy that we can connect whenever and wherever you are tuning into this video. This is another video in my 90-day challenge series. Really, the point was to speak my truth and share my story. I felt compelled that this was the best method at the time. And so, if this is something that you've been wondering about, pondering, wanting to explore, wanting to work on, I hope you can receive this as a sign, a confirmation, an inspiration, a seed to be able to speak your truth and to share your story in whatever shape or form um, you feel compelled to do that and to feel it out and see what works best if you're not sure. So, I do like to start each one of these videos sharing a practice that I use and or have used in my journey. And so this one is because yesterday I had this very gnarly headache and I was trying different ways, and I thought, if I can ask someone else to help me, let me see what I can do for myself. So I don't remember who I got this from because it was probably 5 years ago, and I am sorry to whoever it was who came up with this and shared it with me. But uh, I was told that when I have a headache, that I could essentially apply pressure to my brow bone and that would help to alleviate the pressure. So if this is my eyebrows, then my brow bone kind of follows there. And so what I'll do is I'll push along the brow bone. And if anywhere actually hurts, I will hold the pressure there, um, well, for as long as I can. Yesterday, I was trying to do it for like 20 seconds, and I tried to do it multiple times. And I just kept going along my brow bone until it sort of ended around here. And then I went back. I also used um, my knuckles. Is this my knuckle? Yeah. I used my knuckle because I was laying down, and so I was pushing up against the brow bone. But again, wherever there was pain, I would hold it and then I would continue. And so after a few rounds, in addition to also taking ibuprofen, actually, interesting story. So I took ibuprofen and then I meditated for 15 minutes to try to reset. And then I was doing that pressure along my brow bone. And as I was pushing against my brow bone, it really hurt and it registered as pain, but I didn't feel it as badly. So I think the ibuprofen kicked in so that I couldn't feel the headache. But when I pushed up against my brow bone, I could feel it aching very deeply. And it was a very interesting sensation of like, I know this hurts, but when I do it, I'm not receiving it as viscerally as I usually would. It just sort of registers in my brain. Oh, there's pain there, but I wasn't like like gripping in pain. So, um, but I'm not a medical professional, so please take that with a grain of salt. And if you maybe work with um, an acupuncturist, or if you want to research it online to see if there's something like that, I encourage you strongly to do so. It's something that works for me when medication doesn't work for me. So, just sharing a practice for your knowledge that it exists. So, I wanted to take a moment and share. Um, Gosh, I had such a revelatory morning. Um, and it did really have to do, I really believe it was connected to the video that I shared last night. And again, all of these videos are unscripted, and I kind of like walk in, and right before I go on, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? What's my practice I'm going to share? And so when I was talking yesterday about creating energetic space, something in that um, then led me this morning when I was listening to my Louise Hay video that I've been listening to for a couple of weeks and trying to listen to for 30 days. Um, Something that struck me about what she said was that money is energy. So, sort of like held on to that for a little bit as she continued to talk. Um, and I've heard certain people say that everything is energy. Like everything in the universe is energy, right? I remember my physics professor saying that even though you can't see the wood in the table, um, doesn't seem to appear to be moving at some level, it's vibrating. And, the energy of water is very different from the energy of a rose. And like the sound of happiness vibrates differently than the sound of anger. So I was thinking about everything is energy. And then I'm thinking about money as energy. And then in that video, the next thing that was said was money takes the shape of your consciousness, right? So if your consciousness is negative, if it's pessimistic, if it's fearful and anxious, that money will take that shape. And so I sat with it and I kind of like mixed it around in my mind a little bit. And I thought about, making mental space and making heart space. And, I was still imagining the room that I've seen in both. But then I was thinking about the analogy of the field in terms of my social like landscape over the last few years. And I've also heard some of the videos from or with Louise Hay's voice. I'm not sure if it's Louise Hay or somebody's using it to share information. But um, she's also talked about our mind being a garden, right? And so I was thinking about this and I was like, oh, so my consciousness or like my mental faculties, um, if my mind is a garden or a field, I imagine that my consciousness is the soil and the earth, right? And so what am I doing? How am I feeding? How am I taking care of the earth? What am I feeding it? What am I giving to it? Um, how is my energy emotionally towards it, right? And so this is all like playing out in my mind as I'm trying to still listen to the other affirmations and probably didn't hear those as much as I would on a different day. But all of that was really helping me to have this realization of the importance of the mind. And this is something that I've been learning since the beginning of 2024. But really, right, like if I want to be able to grow crops or if I want to have different plants in my garden, it's my responsibility to take care of the soil and the earth and to nurture and nourish the plants and the life that is there, and the ecosystem essentially too, right? And so this was like such a aha moment for me. And so after the video finished, I tried to like type notes and like and record the realizations, which never quite get recorded the way that you experience them. And then later, one of my Rise and Thrives, she messaged me and she was telling me that she had seen my latest video last night and made a connection, connected the dots between that and the video where I kept asking, what's the point of sharing? What's the point of like expressing your needs or your wants? And so, bless her for her care and her commitment to our friendship and to me and to my well being. Um, and so, she posed the question, what if expressing what's inside of me helps to clear up some of that energetic space, right? So if my energy is a garden and I have a lot of different plants that have dried up and they've probably withered and I should probably get rid of them so that we could put something else or allow something to move and shift and like expand, that is there and that is alive. Like, what if expressing what's in there is essentially like weeding or like redecorating or decluttering, a room, if that's the analogy that works better for you? What if expressing myself allows me to clear out the space so that I have more room, so that it's not overcrowded, so that it's not crammed, so that it's not weeds overrun or, sort of withered plants everywhere. So I was like, okay, I can I can get behind this. I understand the point and I'm still digesting it, but it's been so interesting. And then I think one of the really interesting things that happened in between like the video last night and then waking up this morning to listen to the Louise Hay video, I kept wanting to use the affirmation no, I am ready for. So it's one of the affirmations that I hear every morning in the Louise Hay video. And she's like, I'm ready to receive. And so I've taken that and sometimes I'll say, I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to receive. I'm repeating it in my mind. And then I've also been saying, I'm ready for abundance. I'm ready for um, a divine counterpart. I'm ready for aligned livelihood. I'm ready for an increase in wealth. And so I've been using that um, prompt, and I kept saying, I kept using this prompt as I was listening to a video and falling asleep. And they were saying, like, oh, this is going to happen. And, if this is going to be like this and this. So I'd be like, yeah, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for that. And even as I was sleeping and when I woke up, kind of like stirred in my consciousness or subconsciousness, I'm not a great sleeper. I would be like, I'm ready for something, something, something. And then I'd like fall back asleep. And then I'd like stir and then I'd do it again. And I was like, why do I keep trying to like do these affirmations even though I'm trying to sleep? So it was a really interesting like mental space. So then the video and then the revelation and then the connecting the dots from my Rise and Thrive. So that's the energy I've been sitting in. And I think it's fascinating. And I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. Um, and I'm ready to receive. I'm ready for I'm ready for a higher timeline. I'm ready for alignment. I'm ready. I'm ready. And oh, and then I was gonna say, because I know I talked about this yesterday too. the idea that spirituality is how you choose to live, how you choose to speak, how you choose to act, with intention and, alignment with what is true and, what is important. And I've had this struggle and I've talked about it with one of my Rise and Thrives about like, how do you live like how do you live in the material physical world of like work and bills and identity and status and then and still like hold or be spiritual, right? Because to me they seemed like a spectrum, they seemed like opposite sides, they seem like there's a wall and one side's one thing and the other side's the other thing, so you got to choose if you're going to be one or the other. And so we've been asking ourselves the questions like, how do we how do we hold both? How do we like not lose either one? And I'm like, oh, if I think of spirituality as how I live, that's every day, right? Like, and in the video, it said, spirituality is not separate from daily activities or day to day life. Because if it's how you speak, if it's how you act, if it's how you think, um, that's happening like in all moments. Like, how? Like, how do you want to show up? And so I am pretty excited, and I would say it's an accomplishment. Rise or thrive, if you're listening. Um, I think that's my answer. My answer is like, we can completely and utterly continue to be spiritual because we're going to keep figuring out how to show up intentionally and with purpose and in alignment with our values, right? So I was like, the like question I've been asking myself for like 30 years or however long I've been wondering about this. Um, it's just in me answering, how do I want to show up in this moment of my life? Ah, all right. Ah, okay. So with that, I'm gonna get going. I have some other things that I would like to do before this day ends. Um, but I really, really do hope, and I said this last night, I really do hope that you are finding ways to trust in your inner voice, your inner wisdom, your intuition, whatever it is that you identify with having internally for you. Um, because again, I think a good teacher is someone who helps you to believe in your ability to do whatever it is that they're teaching. So if it's algebra, if it's carpentry, if it's how to live. And so if you are someone who is seeking and looking for answers, I hope you also consider, was it James Crone? It was a video that I had linked, but I'm trying to throw it in here. He essentially was like, yeah, the seeking sort of says that something inherently is missing. But if you're exploring, if you're experimenting, if you are trying out different things, as a spiritual explorer, it's not coming from a place of lack. And I do truly hope that you are able to fill yourself with what you need and to be able to ask for what you are not able to do so that you can explore and experiment this one precious life. One, well, at least currently, at this moment, um, and to do what you are meant to do. So please keep on going and please keep shining your light wherever you are. And I look forward to connecting with you again if that's in our cards, and if not, and um, you know, our journey ends here. I do wish the best for you. Please take good care. Okay, bye bye.